What if you could transform trash into treasure? In the United States alone, over 100 million tin cans are thrown away each day. We all struggle with finding creative ways to recycle things like tin cans and bottles. Let's decorate one of those tin cans with decoupage and air dry clay technique. Hello, my crafty friends. I'm Donna from Mason Creations, etc. and welcome to my channel. So grab your materials and let's get started making a mess. My crafty friend Shelly F requested a decoupage tin can with a lid. Here you go, Shelly. This video is for you. I used a can opener that cuts from the sides safely and doesn't leave a sharp edge that could cut you. I'll leave a link for you in my description box below. They're very reasonably priced. The can is slightly shiny, so I'm going to prime it before I start. I'm going to brush on Polyvine's multi-surface lacquer in a dead flat finish. This is a great primer for any shiny surface, such as glass, plastic, or ceramic. I'm using the dead flat finish because I want to remove the shine. This will give paint or decoupage glue a great surface to adhere to. Paint won't chip, scratch, or peel. For best results, I'm going to let this dry overnight. This and all the products you're going to see me use today came from decoupagenapkins.com, my wonderful sponsors. I'm going to paint the can and lid with Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color cotton, which is white. I'm using a sponge because it lays a thicker coat of paint, which gives you much better coverage. I used a brush to get into some tight spots on the lid and then followed up with the sponge. I'll let this dry for about an hour. I'm cutting off one of the white edges of this beautiful rice paper. I need a nice straight edge for the top of the can because I'm going to put it under the lip of the can. I measured and cut off some of the excess paper. Next, I measured the length and removed the excess paper by tearing it this time. I am going to have a slight overlap of paper, and tearing it will give me a more blended look. I used a water brush to wet the paper so it would tear easier. A water brush has a cartridge that you fill with water and then brush it on the napkin or rice paper. The water dispenses easily, so this is really convenient. You can find this in my description box below, in my favorite tools section, just in case you want to check it out. I'm using Polyvine's Decorator's Varnish as my decoupage adhesive today. You can use this product as a varnish and an adhesive. All the Polyvine formulas can double as a decoupage adhesive. It works so much better than the most popular brand of decoupage glue. It's not a glue, so it doesn't go on thick and lumpy. It's a varnish, so it dries crystal clear and will never yellow. I laid the torn edge down first, and the other side of the paper has a dark edge, so it will be perfect for covering up my overlap. As I'm adding the rice paper to this can, I'm adding more varnish to my brush and making sure to press the paper deep into all those grooves. I'm going to let this dry for a couple of hours. Make sure you always paint white or very light off-white wherever you're going to decoupage rice paper or a napkin. White allows the colors in your images to look more vibrant. Dark colors will make your images look dark and muddy. I also put some of the rice paper on the underside of the can's lid. I pressed it into the groove around the edge and cut it to size. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. It's fun to see what cities and countries you are all watching from. I'm filming from Las Vegas, Nevada in the United States. Everything is dry now, so I'm going to remove all the excess paper hanging over the bottom edge. I'm using a medium grit sandpaper. This will shear it off nice and clean, leaving a perfectly sharp edge. This is the best way to remove it. You won't be able to get this clean of an edge with scissors. Now I'm going to give it a coat of Polyvine Heavy Duty Wood Varnish in a satin finish. This will give you a great shine that's moisture and high heat resistant, as well as high chemical resistant, high stain resistant, high abrasion resistant, and food safe. This works wonderful on any painted or decoupage surface or shiny surface that has been coated with Polyvine multi-surface lacquer. I let that dry for an hour between each coat and an hour after the final coat. I've had a few people ask me if this varnish has a strong smell. No, it does not. It's water-based, so there are no harmful fumes at all. I'm giving it one coat for now, but I'll be giving it more later. I'm going to make some clay embellishments for this fabulous tin can using a Stamperius silicone mold called Old Lace Butterfly and Flowers. It's so pretty and really looks like lace. There's a lot of detail on this mold. I just love it. I'm using DOS clay and pressing it into the mold. I was going to use all of the flowers, but they were too big and I ended up using just 2 of them. This is a really nice mold. Stamperia molds are really high quality, so you end up with a quality molded piece. After pressing the clay into the mold, I'm using a palette knife to scrape off the excess. If you want to see an in-depth video on how to work with air dry clay, click the banner in the top right corner of your screen. I'll also leave you a link for that video in my description box below. I'm spraying a little bit of water on my finger and smoothing out the clay. This also cleans up the edges a little. Now this will go in the freezer for at least 20 minutes. Fresh out of the freezer, watch how easily these just pop out of the mold. Freezing makes them rigid so you don't end up smashing and distorting your clay trying to get it out of the mold. And it helps preserve all the detail. This mold is a little thick, so I'm going to have to let them thaw for just a few minutes. They're really stiff right now, and I'm going to need them to bend around the can. I had to let the clay thaw for about 15 minutes because it was so thick. Now I'm gluing my clay pieces to the can while the clay is still wet using Aleene's tacky glue. This is the best glue I've found for use on wet clay. Any glue that seeped out from under the clay I removed right away with a Q-tip or a clean damp brush. DecoupageNapkins.com has such a great selection of napkins that you can purchase one at a time. They carry many other craft supplies such as rice paper, paint, clay, molds, and a great selection of Polyvine products. Over 9,000 products and growing. They are wonderful to work with and will send your order out fast. You'll receive free shipping on orders over $75 and special bonus points for orders over $100. Subscribe to their newsletter by entering your email address, and you'll receive 10% off your next order. They are truly your one-stop shop for craft supplies. Make sure you check them out. I'll be leaving links for all the products I use in my description box below, as well as more information on the previously mentioned promotions. Please note that any of these promotions are subject to future changes. I'm going to put a little wooden finial in the center of the lid to use as a handle. I'm going to press it in the clay so it'll dry with the indent of that finial. After the clay has dried, I'll glue it in place. I made a little template to help me find the center of lids for things like this. Because the clay was so thick, these pieces were really heavy and kept sliding off the rounded can. So I won the battle by using painter's tape to hold them in position. I made sure to just press it down lightly. After a few hours, the glue is semi-set and the tape can be removed. but the clay will need to dry overnight. If you live in a humid area, you may need to let it dry longer. My clay is dry, and I'm using tacky glue to attach the finial in the center of the lid. And I'll let that dry for a few hours before painting it. I'm using Pentart paint in the color Metallic Gold to line the edges of all my clay pieces. I just love Pentart paints. They go on so smooth and creamy, and the coverage is just amazing. Even the metallic colors normally cover in one coat. Since I gave the can a coat of satin varnish, if I accidentally get any paint on the surface of the can, I'll just wipe it off. But you have to get it before it dries. The turquoise item that you're seeing me use is called a cup cradle. It's made from silicone and I rely on it a lot. I use this anytime I'm working on something round. It keeps my piece from rolling away from me. I get a lot of people asking me what it is. There'll be a link in my description box below, just in case you want to check it out. If you're enjoying this video, please let me know by hitting that like button. And why not share this with a friend? Thanks for doing that. You won't want to miss any of the new projects coming up, so don't forget to subscribe. I painted around the edge of the lid with some gold. On the top of the lid, I used a sponge dauber so I'd have a flat surface to paint with. I'm using Pentart paint in the color Rose to paint the flowers and butterfly. It matches the pink in the rice paper so perfectly. It's so nice not to have to mix any paint colors this time. I started off using a sponge to get the bulk of the flower, and then used a brush to get into the little cracks and crevices. I test all the products that I recommend in my videos. I won't recommend anything that I haven't used myself and prefer. If I'm recommending it, you can bet it's a great product. Each product will be listed in my description box below and will have a blue link to make it easy for you to find. Any of the links I provide are safe for you to click on. I'm using Pentart Country Green for the leaf. And again, this color matches the green in the paper perfectly. I don't know how I got so lucky, but I am pretty happy about it. I painted the entire top of the lid rose, even the areas next to the flower. All but the finial, that's going to be gold. After the pink paint dried, I began painting the edge of the flower gold. I know these colors look bright and in your face right now, but by the time I'm done, everything will be muted and gorgeous. Make sure you stick around to see the end result. And of course, the finial must be gold as well. I'm going to add gold edge to the top and bottom of this can. I'm using a sponge, which gives me a little more control as far as getting paint on the inside of the can. You can take the flat edge of the sponge and just run it along the top of the can for a nice clean painted edge. I let the paint dry, and now I'm going to give everything a coat of my Polyvine Heavy Duty Wood Varnish in satin to protect what I just did. I'm going to be doing some creative antiquing, so I need a shiny surface. Before you do any antiquing technique, you need to have a gloss or satin finish so the antiquing will wipe off the surface. I'll let this dry for an hour before moving on to the antiquing process. Okay, are you ready to get super creative? I always tell you that you can do such creative things with this glazing medium. So today I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going to mix a custom antique using the glazing medium, about a teaspoon, the country green paint so it will have the same tones, and some Pentart pine green paint to darken it up a little. I'm brushing my mixture all over the top of the lid of this jar. I'm wiping it off right away with a soft, dry cloth. It will wipe off the surface easily because of the satin varnish, but it will stay in all the little cracks and crevices, accenting all the details from the mold. I'm doing the same thing with the can. I'm brushing it on all the embellishments as well as around all of them too. This will darken the can around all the embellishments, creating a shadow, which will give them a 3D look by appearing to be lifted off the can. I'm working on some great spring projects right now. A lot of them are requests that I'm excited to be making. I love planning projects around your requests. Just please be patient. I get quite a few of them, and I get the projects out as quickly as I can. I love hearing about what you'd like to see, so keep those requests coming. If you find there's too much antique being left behind, mist it with a little bit of water and then continue wiping. The glaze is water soluble, so it won't hurt it at all. I know these colors are still dark and in your face, but hang in there, my crafty friends. I promise you gorgeousness by the end of this video. I'm also adding some of my antique under the lip of the can and in the ridge at the bottom of the can. That created some nice shadows at the top and bottom. So what do you think about using colored paints as an antiquing medium? It opens up a whole new world, doesn't it? I'd love to hear what you think and what color you'd use for a project like this. I'm going to let this dry for a couple of hours. The glazing medium works by keeping the paint from drying quickly, so it will take a little longer for it to dry. I'm going to do some white dry brushing to tone down the colors. I'm putting just the tip of my brush in the paint, wiping it off on the edge of the jar, and then wiping it on a paper towel. You want your brush literally dry to do this effectively. Now I'm dragging my brush lightly over the tops of all the flower petals, basically just skimming over the top. I don't want any of this white paint to go into any of the crevices where the green is. That would defeat the antiquing process. Doing this very lightly gives the embellishments a very misty appearance. I let that dry for about 30 minutes and then gave the entire can and lid 2 coats of Polyvine heavy duty wood varnish in the satin finish. I waited an hour between coats and an hour after the final coat before moving on. And now I'm going to be doing my favorite thing. I'm going to add some gold edging to all the raised areas. I'm using decor wax in the color Eternal. It's just so beautiful when dry. I'm using a really tiny flat brush and just skimming it over the edges lightly. Similar to what I did with the dry brushing, only this time instead of getting the whole flower petal, I am grazing it over just the tiny little edges. I'm getting every single raised edge detail on all the petals, butterfly, and leaf. All this gold edging is so beautiful, it's just breathtaking. I'm going to use this to store some loose tea in. If you made this can, what would you use it for? It's pretty versatile and could be used in a kitchen or a bath. I get a lot of questions about how I clean my brushes after all the products I'm using. Everything you've seen me use today, with the exception of the gold decor wax, is water-based, so they will all clean up with soap and water. I use Speedball pink soap for brushes. I'll leave you a link in my description box below. It works really well. It seems to remove paint you didn't even know was still in your brush. I think you'll like it. This product is solvent-based, so you'll need to clean your brush with mineral spirits. Everything else I've used today can be cleaned with soap and water. Now I'm adding some gold wax to the finial, the edge of the lid, and both top and bottom edges of the can. It wouldn't be me if I didn't make this little can shimmer in some way. I'm using tacky glue to add some bronze ball chain on the inside of the lid. There's a little bit of a gap between the lid and where I added the rice paper. I want to cover up that gap, and ball chain always does the job. I let the glue dry, and now I'm going to add a little bit of the gold to the chain. This will make it blend with all the other gold. When applying with your finger, always rub your finger and thumb together so you don't get a big glob of product on your piece. I let all this gold dry overnight, and now I'm going to buff it to a gorgeous shine. Once you buff this, it looks like it's been gilded with 14 karat gold. Then I'm going to add some loose tea and put this beauty in my kitchen on display for everyone to see. Don't forget, all of the wonderful products I'm using today can be found at my favorite place for craft supplies, decoupagenapkins.com. And I'll leave you links in my description box below. I've added a link to a video that I think you may enjoy. Click the picture on the right to be taken directly to that video. I'm so happy you were here with me today, and thanks so much for watching. I can't wait to see you all next week. I'm working on a new project with you in mind. You can subscribe by clicking my picture in the top right corner.